Oh, he's right there. You got him. You got him. Man, it must have been that smelly
On this
jelly, 'cause that
episode
thing
of
came
Northwest
right out of the back.
Outdoors, head to the John Day River in north central Oregon for some incredible steelhead fishing. Plus, nearby is some great upland bird hunting. This is your Northwest Outdoors.
Right there, game birds and rice. It's a real simple, easy recipe that anybody can do on a Dutch oven.
And it is, and it looks wonderful. So we've got the birds in the field to the birds in the pot.
Funding for Northwest Outdoors is made possible in part by Kershaw Knives of Portland, Oregon, makers of precision tools and cutlery. Kershaw Knives strongly supports outdoor programming as well as responsible outdoor activities throughout the Pacific Northwest. And by Subaru, engineered and designed for all types of activities in the great outdoors. Subaru believes that enjoyment of the Pacific Northwest should be available to everyone. And by Alltrek.com. Alltrek provides high-performance clothing and gear for every outdoor experience, including paddling, camping, hiking, climbing, and more. Information can be found online at Alltrek.com. And by Energy Northwest, providing electricity for the Pacific Northwest today and for our future. You too can help provide electricity for our future by reducing your use of electricity today. Remember, conserve whenever possible.
This show begins around the breakfast table, right outside of Fossil, Oregon. This is ranching country. It is also considered one of the best areas of the Northwest to fish for bass, as well as steelhead, because of the pristine waters of the nearby John Day River. The starting point for this day's adventure is the Wilson Ranch Retreat Bed and Breakfast. This unique B&B offers a home-on-the-range lifestyle, allowing guests to experience a true Western atmosphere. You'll learn more about this B&B later in the show. From here, it's a short drive to the John Day River to launch the boats. Let's join Northwest Outdoors fishing host Hobart Manns and Maha outfitter and guide Steve Fleming at the river's edge, preparing lunch for later in the day.
Steve, you're going to cook us lunch today. What are you going to put in the pot for us?
Hey, today we're going to have pork roast, pork loins. 2 of them. How's that sound, Hobart?
In a Dutch oven in the boat?
Yeah, right on. We're going to
Okay.
start out here. We'll do a little bit of the prep work here. Then we'll heat the briquettes up in the boat. We'll put the Dutch oven into the pot, this pot that's going to go in the boat with us.
Right.
And we'll cook it right in the boat.
Okay, let's see what you're going to put in the pot and how you're going to put it together.
Okay, well, first off, before I do any prep work, I've cleaned my hands, which I've already done. I use apple cider vinegar to treat the Dutch oven. I've already done that too. On this particular meal, we need a little seasoning. My favorite happens to be Lipton's savory herb and garlic. Doesn't take a lot, so we just put a little bit in. Then the next thing to go in would be your onions, and I've already cut them up, of course, ahead of time.
You prep this ahead of time and you put it in the cooler and have it when you need it.
Yeah, that's right. Next thing is the pork loins. We use 2 today because of the
Got
size
3 or
of
4
our
people.
group.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are
These are-
nice looking lean loins, no
Oh,
fat.
yeah.
You've trimmed them out pretty well.
These are good looking ones.
Put those in.
Roughly a package of baby carrots if they come in the store, one of the small packages. I use red potatoes, and you don't have to cut them or anything, just use them whole. You place them down into the carrots. Most of my meals, the secret is in my seasoning. I use garlic gourmet. I need a little moisture in here, so I just put a little water in, not a lot. I put enough in, so I'd say 1 inch worth, 1 visible inch worth.
It'll create steam and juices, but
Right.
not make things mushy.
It gives us a great broth. There we go, right there. Okay, and that's all there is to it, Hobart. I've already taken time to put aluminum foil down over the sand that's in the bucket here. I'll light the briquettes. I cook with 28 briquettes on a 12-inch Dutch oven. That I figure gets me up to 375 degrees for about an hour and 20 minutes. It takes 3 hours from the time I light the briquettes until I serve. About 45 minutes after I light, the briquettes turn white, and I'll use the tongs here to lift the briquettes out and put on top of the Dutch oven. You put very little heat on the bottom. Almost 4/5, 80% of your heat goes on top and just a little bit around the ring on the outside.
With two separate boats working the water, this was a chance to try a couple different methods to catch a steelhead. One boat was fly fishing, while Steve's boat was pulling a mixture of plugs and lures. It wasn't long before there was a hookup.
This steelhead is what we came after. Steelhead is what we came after, Steve, and you said that we should be finding one at the bottom of this drift, and by golly, we did.
Oh, nice
Oh,
fish.
yeah. He's
Nice fish. Very
handy.
nice.
Nice fish. We're just going to let him do what he's doing.
Yeah.
He took that big silver quickfish and just chowed down on it. Yeah, he's nice. Real
Pulling you
nice.
back into the slow water.
He's doing a little rolling in it. That's why he's, ooh, lots of color. See him lay up out there? Talk about pretty. Talk about gorgeous. Fall steelhead on the John Day. We're up here in
Nice fish.
late December.
Nice
Beautiful.
job, Hobart.
This is really a beautiful John Day River hatchery program steelhead. And this year we're getting the biggest return that we've had in what, some 50 years in this
Yeah.
area?
Yeah. And to be noted that the John Day doesn't have a hatchery release. So
Well, these
this fish is a hatchery fish, no question about it. It's missing its adipose fin here. But this fish came up the John Day River, but there have never been any hatchery fish released on the John Day River.
Okay. So in reality, this is a fish that's up here by striation.
By stray, yeah.
And in reality, it's also a good thing to take it out of the equation because of the fact that we do have native fish here, and the crossbreeding is something that the
Right.
biologists really don't want to transpire.
Right, that's the main theory behind it. The other side of the coin is the fact this fish lived, went out in the ocean for a year, came back in, found a river, swam up here. We're at about river mile 100. It swam 100 miles up from the mouth. So the fish's toughness, I don't know that it can be questioned or not, but the fact that intermixing and interbreeding, plus it may be eating fish, eating food, nesting in areas that the
Yep.
native fish would nest in. So there's two sides of the coin to look at. But at any rate, this fish did make it. She's a beauty. It's a female. Caught it here on some back trolling with a nice big quick fish that we were using. Okay, the first thing I do when I come to the John Day River for a steelhead trip is I take the temperature. 42 degrees is our spin. If it's above 42, which it is today, it's 43, 44 degree water temperature. Then I go to my main setups here and I go with quick fish. I go with the Cleos, the 1/4 ounce Cleos, and in brass, gold. I also go with the clatter tads in the gold color, or I go with the quick fish in the fluorescent orange, or with the Steelheas in the brass and fluorescent orange. And I take the Steelheas, turn them over, and I tell the clients, I said, what these are is really a measuring cup. Fill that thing full of smelly jelly. Smelly jelly craw anise, anchovy, or earthworm nightcrawler. And that's how you catch steelhead on the John Day at 42 or more degrees. Well, Hobart, this section we picked out today to float is below Clarno. It's a nice little short section. It's about 6 miles in total that we can drift in here. It's what I call my primo section. It has a private access to it and takeout. Yeah, the water's running about 500 CFS last night. Makes it really nice. Hasn't been much fluctuation over the last 3 days, which is what I like. And as you can tell, the water's very clear. Get a situation like this where you've got nice, stable, clear water, working with 42 plus degrees, you start catching yourself some steelhead in the heads of the holes. Oh, what a gorgeous day.
Yeah, it is.
Oh no, he's right there. You got him, you got him. Man, it must have been that smelly jelly because that thing just came running up there and hit it.
Oh, this
Holy cow.
is a northern pike steelhead.
He wouldn't take no for an answer.
I know that. He came charging across there and said, I want that orange. I want that yellow. It smells good.
Nice fish, Hobart.
Yeah, it is.
Caught it on a 1/2-inch steely, which is brass with fluorescent orange, and just finished filling it full of smelly jelly craw anise too.
But he followed it right to the boat like a northern pike.
There we go.
Beautiful fish.
Ooh, nice fish.
And
Hobart.
fun. You said this was going to be a fun day.
Nice.
It is.
Thin clip fish. You can see where it's been trimmed
Yep.
off here in the back,
Yep.
which means it's a hatchery fish. This fish is running probably right around 26, 27 inches,
Yeah.
maybe.
Pretty, real nice
Beautiful
fish.
fish.
Steelhead fishing on the John Day can be serene and peaceful, but when a hookup happens from shore, there's a rush of adrenaline. Oregon outdoor writer Scott Statz gets a chance to catch the last steelhead of the day.
You need to land him in here or above where you are.
I'll try to bring him in right there.
Okay, here we go. Got him! Oh, nice job, Scott. Oh, beauty. That's a beauty. Wow, look how bright this one is.
Yeah, that's only the second one I've got here on this river.
Got her fins. She's got everything, and is she gorgeous?
Yes, she is.
That is a nice fish. Boy, what a hot fish. That's why they're wild fish. Well, while we were out there fishing, the food was sitting in the boat cooking. We didn't have to do anything, no muss, no fuss, and now it's time to have a little bite to eat. Put that plate down here, I want to get you some.
Pork roast.
Do that. We smelled it a couple times.
Yes, all afternoon. Been teasing us as we drifted along.
Get some carrots for night vision here.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, little onions.
Carrots?
How's that?
Dutch oven cooking is very easy, and cooking the way Steve does guarantees a hot meal after a productive fishing trip. The only way to top off a day like this is enjoying the rising moon that silhouettes a beautiful buck deer on the mountaintop. This part of north central Oregon is rich in history and tradition. Spending time taking a closer look at the foothills near the John Day River reveals a written history whose translation has been lost over many centuries of time. This exposed rock wall reveals the largest collection of Indian writings in the Columbia Basin. Located on the Stanley Ranch, hundreds of symbols indicate the original inhabitants here had a lot to say. Relating the history and describing the scenic wonders of this area is where fifth-generation rancher Phil Wilson comes in. Phil, along with his wife Nancy, love taking visitors from their Wilson Ranch Retreat bed and breakfast out for a day ride to see the scenery up close. Offering off-road 4x4 tours of the area has become very popular with the ranch's guests.
We started doing four-wheel drive ranch tours, which are centered around sunset, or being able to see the sunset. I talk about the geology of the area, the flora and the fauna. The way this country was formed is really unique. Most of the soils that are in this area were blown in here either from volcanoes. They've traced soils from Siberia and Canada. I take the guest out and we look at the countryside. We also, I talk about the homesteaders and the history in the area, the Indian history, that what I've been able to piece together. We've had people from Florida, Europe, Japan, all Australia, New Zealand, and they all seem to share the same love that I have for the area after they've been here for a little while.
History and heritage is important to the Wilson family, and at this ranch that heritage stands out. Old photographs of family members decorate the walls of the guest house. Family members that settled this territory many generations ago. Another part of the heritage in this part of the Northwest is the tradition of the hunt. Each year, many upland game bird hunters gather here to experience a variety of natural habitat.
Those dogs have been looking awful anxious to do some work.
I think so. I think they're about to run.
This is the Mayville Flat Hunting Reserve, 20 miles north of Fossil near Condon, Oregon. Hunting guide Skip Gear is with Hobart and columnist Scott Statz as they work a 2-mile valley looking for a variety of upland birds.
What's the difference, Skip, between a game farm and a shooting preserve or hunting preserve?
Well, a game farm is strictly just pretty much propagation or raising birds. The shooting preserve, hunting preserve, which are two the same. It permits us. We're licensed by the state to release pin-reared birds on the property. We're limited to 1,280 acres is the maximum amount you can have in one shooting preserve, and that is what we're hunting today. There's 1,280 acres here. Allows you to put back kind of what you take out of here. We have quite a few native birds, but while we're releasing a lot of birds in here, it's helped propagate the place as well. So you kind of got to put back what you take.
Put and take, that's a good thing. I'm going to scoot over here and get up on that ledge.
Okay.
Skip, what are the dogs' names?
The English pointer's name is Kramer.
Okay.
And the German Shorthair's name is Buster. There's a chucker in the trail. Dogs are still locked up here. Go ahead and move up on the dog there, Hobart, right behind them. See what I can get out of here. Hip! Dead. Dead bird.
Now he's getting the snoot full. It's right there. He's in that clump of stuff. You'd have to go to North Dakota or back in that country to see birds like this anymore. This is really spectacular. I must admit, Skip, I've been hunting off and on all my life, and it's probably been 15 years since I've had a good chance to go where there's pheasant, and that's as pretty a pheasant as I think I've seen in a long, long time. What possessed you to go into developing a shooting program that you have for your properties?
Well, actually, I've always loved to hunt, and was probably the biggest reason, but the fact that the native bird population got so down for so long that a guy can go out and hunt a lot of these areas all day real hard and might not ever get a shot, So
Yep,
I wanted to start raising some birds just for the property itself, and one thing kind of led into another, and now we're running a shooting preserve full time. So.
Oh, actually, you're doing a good job on both sides. You allow people to come in and enjoy a hunt, and you're continuing to put birds into the program they're going to release and go elsewhere.
Yeah, it's helped quite a bit. Our native bird population has really picked up the last few years, especially after we quit running livestock on this place, just kind of trying to manage this property specifically for native birds.
Yeah. The foliage is going to come back up. They got more places to hide and feed and do all kinds of good stuff. That was ideally suited for birds. It's that piece of brush right there. It looks like a brooder pin for them.
I'm not sure if that's where the bird is, but that's where the direction we're headed here.
We've got one waiting here. If it comes out.
Rooster!
Good puppy.
Atta, bud.
Good dog.
Atta, buddy.
That's a long retrieve, too. He ain't gonna bring it to me, he's gonna bring it to Dad.
Hip, hip.
Perfect.
You see it?
Good.
Oh, good job.
You didn't tell me he had that kind of manners.
Rooster!
He says, I'm going to let that bird go here pretty soon. Snap him up, Scott. He's going to come right out in front of you.
We got chuckers in here, guys. Bear chuckers.
There's one here.
Let's move on in through. Kick through the brush a little bit. We got a rooster in here.
Yes.
Skip likes to hunt in 3 different canyons on their property, allowing guests a fair chase hunt for plenty of pheasant, quail, and chukar. His guide service will also provide the dogs as well, if necessary. He shares with Hobart one of his favorite ways to prepare his game birds in a Dutch oven.
Skip, I want to thank you for a really nice bird hunt today. You've shown us some great things, and you're going to show us a recipe on how to cook these birds after you've cleaned them. They're going to look like what you've got on the table. We're going to do a Dutch oven recipe here. What are you going to put in where?
Yeah, it's a real simple recipe here, Hobart. We're going to take a little bit of rice, some long grain rice, put that in the Dutch oven.
Goes on the bottom in the Dutch?
Goes on the bottom.
Here, I'll get those. You get the
Okay.
stuff.
Takes just some baby carrots. Put
And
those down there with them.
Those are really good. They all cook at the same speed.
You bet. And some celery.
Birds like celery. Good thing with it. Celery's already cut up, ready to go here. So we got rice, carrot, celery. And you're gonna put
We're gonna
sauce,
put a little bit of chicken broth on here.
just chicken broth, okay? And when you're in the field, it's a good thing to bleed and clean the birds as quickly as possible.
Oh, absolutely. It's not always possible to do it right at the moment, but you know, as soon as you can. You don't want to pack them around in a game bag all day long. That's for sure.
I think I'm gonna try and get this lid off of here while you're putting those in there.
We're gonna stick in our pieces of pheasant and chukar.
And it wants to have a cup of wine here. I don't know if I can get that same amount of wine in, but I'm going to try this while you're doing that.
Okay.
This is white wine. It's a Chablis. That looks like the same amount. And I get to put this in?
Pour it right on top.
Got it. So now we've got broth, game birds, wild rice, celery, and carrots, and put a lid and some spice.
And our spice, we're going to use garlic gourmet today for our spice.
Garlic gourmet pepper, as a matter of fact.
We use a lot of that. We're not shy with that stuff there.
We're going to put it in a Dutch oven with the lid. And you're going to put briquettes both on top and the bottom?
Both on top. We'll put 20, 25 on top, probably 24, 25 on top, 4 or 5 around the base, around the ring on the outside.
And after 2 hours, it's going to look like this.
Right there, game birds and rice. It's a real simple, easy recipe that anybody can do on a Dutch oven.
And it is, and it looks wonderful. So we've got the birds in the field to the birds in the pot. One of the questions that comes to mind is, why would a person utilize the services of a game bird preserve?
Main reason is it lengthens the season. We got an 8-month-long season that we can use. We got a variety of species we hunt here. You know you're going to get into birds. You're going to get into shooting. You're going to get your dog on some birds. And it's open to the public. Anybody can come out and use the place.
So convenience, availability, and the guaranteed product make this probably the best value in bird hunting that one could hope to find.
Yeah, it's really hard to go find a public place anymore, or a public property that one can hunt and not have to hunt for 3 or 4 days just to find some birds.
Quail.
Go online and learn more about this show, 1513 John Day Steelhead, by clicking on northwestoutdoors.org. This show ends with a ride through the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. Here there's plenty of beauty and, oh yeah, lots of wind.
Funding for Northwest Outdoors is made possible in part by Kershaw Knives of Portland, Oregon, makers of precision tools and cutlery. Kershaw Knives strongly supports outdoor programming as well as responsible outdoor activities throughout the Pacific Northwest. And by Subaru, engineered and designed for all types of activities in the great outdoors. Subaru believes that enjoyment of the Pacific Northwest should be available to everyone. And by alltrek.com. Alltrek provides high-performance clothing and gear for every outdoor experience, including paddling, camping, hiking, climbing, and more. Information can be found online at alltrek.com. The growth of the Pacific Northwest the past few years and the increased demand for electricity is important to all of us. We at Energy Northwest are doing our best to support this demand by producing safe, reliable electrical power today and for our future.